Here's your wrestling news for September 12th, 2022. And we're kicking off today with the Young Bucks, as last week it was reported that the former AEW World Tag Team Champion sent out feelers not too long ago to see if WWE has any interest on them. Given that the Bucks are founding members of AEW, the idea of them leaving for WWE is big, and now we have an update about what's happened. In an update, the Wrestling Observer's Ryan Frederick, who was the first to break the story, said that the Bucks never spoke to WWE management themselves, but wanted to have a message passed on. The Bucks spoke to a friend and fellow wrestler who works in WWE and told them that they'd be willing to hear offers from WWE and wanted those running the company to know that as well. It's unclear who the Bucks spoke to, as there's plenty of friends in WWE, but it's reported that the Jackson brothers' current deal with AEW won't expire until 2024. After Cody Rhodes left AEW for WWE this year, there's been talk about who could follow the American Nightmare, and we'll just have to wait and see what kind of offer WWE is willing to make. One name who probably won't be recommending WWE to them is CM Punk, who suffered an injury during his AEW All Out World title match with Jon Moxley earlier this month. Punk suffered what has been described as a muscle injury when hitting a dive onto Moxley, and now we have an update on his condition. Dave Meltzer for the Wrestling Observer has confirmed that Punk suffered a torn left triceps during the match and that his doctor recommended surgery immediately to prevent muscle atrophy. Punk has since undergone surgery, and Meltzer confirmed the reports of the former world champion being out of action for anywhere from between 6 to 8 months. Given Punk's actions after All Out, there's no doubt that there's many in the company who hope he's away for much longer than that, with rumors that Tony Khan may have already fired him. At this time, we can't say for certain what Punk's status is with AEW, but we wish him a speedy recovery on his torn triceps. Punk's title win and his injury have been overshadowed by what happened after All Out and the explosive comments he made during the post-show media scrum. Throughout his comments, Punk kept himself fed with a muffin, and now the store that sold him the baked good has become a bit of a celebrity. Thanks to CM Punk, Mindy's bakery in Chicago has been flooded with reviews from fans, with one review saying that if a grumpy, bitter, and narcissistic old man likes their treats, then the shop must be good. Another review said that Mindy's was the best in the world according to Punk, who was called the worst MMA fighter of all time. Others poked fun at the post-all-out fight, with one comment saying they'd punch someone in the face for a muffin. What happened after All Out has led to titles being stripped, multiple suspensions, and Tony Khan having to decide whether to fire CM Punk, but it could lead to a serious uptake in business for one Chicago bakery. Throughout his career, Dolph Ziggler has competed in plenty of matches and has had no shortage of stipulations involved. Ziggler has competed inside the Elimination Chamber, won the Money in the Bank ladder match, and even beat John Cena in a TLC match, but now he's got the idea for his own unique matchup. Speaking to the Casual Conversations with the Classic, Dolph discussed his plans for the future and had a new match type and opponent in mind. You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to do an hour with Shinsuke Nakamura and have it tie into his MMA and striking background and my wrestling background. So we kind of give it an MMA-style feel to it with a build. Ziggler went on to say that Japan's strong style isn't exactly MMA, but it's as close as pro wrestling will get, and he praised Nakamura, saying that the former NXT champion does some of the coolest stuff. WWE has flirted with the idea of using MMA in the past, but an MMA-style Iron Man match has never happened before, and that's something Dolph Ziggler would love to change. Over the past month and a half, WWE has brought back several former superstars, with Hit Row, Karrion Kross, Dexter Lumis, and others making returns. It was reported last month that Tenille Dashwood, aka Emma, is no longer with Impact Wrestling, and speculation quickly circulated about whether WWE is in her future. One person who knows Dashwood well is her boyfriend Madcap Moss, and during a Busted Open radio appearance, the Andre the Giant Battle Royal winner discussed the Australian. I may be accused of being a bit biased as we are dating, but I would love to see Tenille Dashwood back in WWE. She has a lot to offer, and I think she was one of the originals that helped put the women's division on the map. So far, most of the returns have been names who made an impact in NXT while under Triple H, and Dashwood certainly did just that during her years in WWE. Dashwood never held gold during her first run in WWE, but that could change one day if the King of Kings decides to give her a call. One name who has returned to WWE is Johnny Gargano, who made his return last month in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. While Gargano's return was epic and the Canadian fans were pleased to see him, his comeback came 2 weeks after Raw was in his native Cleveland. On After the Bell, Gargano was questioned as to why his return didn't happen in his hometown and said he didn't return as everyone expected it to happen. Gargano added that while he had fun having a secret about his return, it proved to be difficult given how much information is leaked online and didn't want fans to know or expect him to return. The former NXT champion would have probably gotten an even bigger pop had he returned in his hometown, but he wanted fans to be surprised, and that was certainly the case when he did come back 2 weeks later in Toronto. Earlier this year, after months upon months of vignettes, Veer debuted on Raw and was a dominant force on the Red brand. Recently, though, fans have seen much less of Veer, with his most recent match being on the August 15th Raw, where he defeated an enhancement talent, with his match before that being in a June 26th Battle Royal, which he lost. Now we have an update on his status, as according to Fightful, WWE has no imminent plans to use the Indian powerhouse. There had been a segment with interviewer Sarah Schreiber during the July 18th Raw, which teased that something was about to happen for Veer, but obviously that didn't go anywhere. We'll have to see whether there are plans down the line for Veer to be used on TV again, but while several superstars are feeling the positive effect of Triple H running creative, Veer Mahaan has been all but forgotten about. Veer Mahaan isn't doing too well in this new era of WWE, but one name fans can expect to see more of is Reggie. A former 24/7 champion, neither Reggie nor that title have been on WWE TV much as of late, but that changed recently thanks to Triple H. Fightful Select has learned that last week's WWE main event match against Shelton Benjamin was not supposed to happen, but that Triple H stepped in at the last minute and ensured Reggie had a match. The original plan was for Benjamin to face his former tag partner Cedric Alexander, but last week's match was Reggie's first time in the ring since facing Akira Tozawa on July 18th. It was said that Vince McMahon was a big fan of Reggie back when he was running WWE, as evidenced by the former Cirque du Soleil star having the longest reign as 24/7 champion at 112 days. We'll have to see what the future holds for Reggie, but it's certainly interesting that WWE's head of creative wanted to make sure he had a match last week. And we're ending today with some fashion news, as last weekend we reported on Sasha Banks and Naomi, who recently strutted their stuff as part of New York Fashion Week. The former WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, who are expected to return to WWE TV soon, certainly look sensational in New York, but they're not the only wrestlers to walk the runway. At a celebrity fashion show last night, several wrestlers walked a walk in Pittsburgh, including names from both WWE and AEW. Wardlow, Shawn Spears, and Mark Sterling were all on hand to represent AEW, while Braun Strowman walked the runway on behalf of WWE, and the event also featured former 24/7 champion Mojo Rawley. It's rare to see WWE and AEW stars team up in any capacity, but by the looks of it, all the wrestlers had fun last night in Pittsburgh. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.